All right, this week on the podcast we have Matt LaCombe, and he's taking the place of my bad brother, Will Browning. And you'll see that bad brother is an apt description this week in particular when he makes an appearance. But I just want to say, Matt and I were close for a really long time. We did pastoring together. We were just all around friends. You see somebody, it's like all my memories from, a certain time frame, like a decade plus, all sort of have him, somewhere in them, and it's great. So since we don't see each other much now, it's more like catching up and trying to find, fun stuff to do. So we saw Nate Bargatze a year ago and stayed up in Bellingham in a crazy hotel. We went to the Mariners big dumper home run playoff clinching game. And so I guess, Matt's on back-to-back weeks. I thought we'd share some funny, church stories or whatever, but this week is a little more catching up, and it was actually a really good conversation for me. Some of the stuff he was talking about, it just made me feel more normal about some of the stuff I have going on, and just, it was just kind of affirming, I guess, in a way, made me feel normal. Not so crazy sometimes. And and then next week we have one of my favorite racist stories of all time. And and then 2 weeks from now, Matt's sister's on, Karen. So it's a big LaCombe fest the next couple weeks. And so without further ado, we had Will FaceTime in just at the beginning of our recording, and honestly, it was just like so long I could not include, and it was just like rambling. It was just like normal people talking. It wasn't good sort of podcast banter. So, but I had to get a little bit in there because there's some references during the pod. So, anyways, you be the judge of what happens. I'm still a little bit confused, so listen up and help me try to figure it out.
First, I'll talk to the audience. I hope everyone enjoyed last week and, getting to know Michael and Tammy and how deep they like it. It was a really good episode.
What? Hey, pause for a second. What did you even just say right now?
That's what you guys were talking about. Going deep. Am I wrong?
I mean, Tammy might, but I don't.
I didn't make it that far into the episode.
It's right. It's right at the beginning. Maybe not. I was mowing the lawn and listening to it.
Yeah, I think you might have missed a couple key points.
Hi, Tammy.
Hi.
No, first it was
don't you dare How would you like it if I said that about Lauren? I think you would. I think you would stop the pod forever.
No, because you said going deep, and you changed it to introspection.
You said listening to how deep we like it.
Okay, start over.
Please.
Wait, did you mean to say that as a joke or not?
As a joke, I meant to say something about going deep. I think I forgot to say going.
How deep do you guys like it?
I got baby brain, sorry. All right. But yeah, Matt, thanks for stepping in for me. I have a little baby. She's a week old now. She's doing great. Eating, pooping, sleeping. What more could you want?
Many, many minutes later.
Alrighty, I'll let you guys get to it. Edit all this out. Sorry for the mishap at the beginning.
I bet.
It's all right.
I thought about it for a while of how to say it perfectly, but that was like 2 hours ago. So I forgot.
It was deep in your brain.
Yeah.
Too deep.
Anyway, but that was like the first thing I thought of when I was listening to the podcast.
Wow. First thing?
Respond.
Like, how can I respond and make Tammy feel awkward?
Exactly.
And she was in the room.
Yeah, and then she's probably not going to listen to the episode, so you actually caught her in the garage with us, and she heard it.
Yeah. You can cut it. Cut it out.
That's like the only usable thing I can take away from this conversation.
Alrighty, love you, bye.
I really couldn't tell if he was attempting a joke or not.
I didn't think he was.
It didn't sound like it, but then I need to say this. I will probably do an intro at the front, but in case I don't or it's not, whatever. This is Matt on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And should we say... Okay, I'll say my thing at the beginning. How would you... You don't have to introduce yourself, but introduce what our relationship.
Me and you or me and Will?
Forget Will. He doesn't want to be here bad enough.
I was trying to think, actually, because I've been waiting for this moment on the pod. But I was trying to figure out how long we've been friends, and I couldn't remember what year you and Tammy moved back here after college. Was it like 06, 07?
Yeah, 06.
Yeah. So, I'm not a math major, but that's quite a while. Like,
yeah, 17
16,
years.
17 years. Which feels like, it feels like that's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've known each other for a while. It is kind of cool to say you've known someone for that long, but also then when you're like, because if I said I've known you for 16 years, I think like, well, I haven't known you since I was in second grade. So then it kind of makes me feel old that I could know you for 16 years and I've been an adult the entire time.
Actually, when I think about knowing somebody for a long time, I actually think about you because I moved, through elementary school a couple of times. It's like I moved in kindergarten, I moved in fourth grade, I moved schools in 6th and 7th, but then I went from private school, over to South, and so I only knew like 2 people when I moved over there. And I haven't really had that long term, but because you grew up in Port Orchard, that was always one thing I was sort of jealous about in a way. Not that you were super close with anybody from elementary school or whatever, but I always thought just that feeling of growing up, seeing people in town, that you knew from, second grade, kindergarten.
Yeah, mine's like the complete opposite. I lived in the same house my entire childhood, went to same elementary school, same middle school, same high school. I mean, I went to school with kids that I went, from kindergarten all the way through.
Yeah.
Never moved.
So that's why, my relationship with you being so long, I mean, one reason why it's special to me, not just because we're so close for so long, but is because, it probably is my most enduring relationship for sure as an adult. But, a lot of the people that I like, my life really revolved around church and youth group and stuff. And, when I was in high school, and most of those people aren't really around anymore. So if they're not, then you got to find, other things. And so, it is interesting. And that's why, I mean, I'm still friends with Scott, but it sort of bums me out that we're not close anymore is because, you know, my parents, we moved in to Port Orchard in June of '96, and Pastor Jennings was just starting there. He was the pastor at Hillcrest when my mom was there with Bill Shaw.
Yeah.
And so when she heard he was going to be there, we're like, okay, well, we found it, and we knew we were moving to Port Orchard. We're like, okay, we're going to go to that church. And so we knew, even before we moved up, that we were going to go to CLC. And so, and my grandma was already living in Port Orchard. And so my mom sent me to summer camp before.
Sorry, I thought of something and now I just started laughing, but it's totally has nothing. But I just had to get the laugh out, or I felt like I was going to hold it in. So just continue. I just broke your story up, but you can edit it. Go. You moved to Port Orchard. Your grandma's.
Oh, but I was just going to say, and so and of course, we were very on time and everything. And so I was the first one there. And Scott, I'm just this kid who doesn't even go to the youth group.
Yeah.
Who hasn't even started 7th grade yet. It's been 2 weeks since I, got out of 6th grade. And all of a sudden I'm here oh, I'm ready to go to summer camp with all these people I don't know and whatever. And so, yeah, it's kind of crazy. So Scott is the first. And then, of course, so I've known him literally longer than anybody else because that was the first minute. And, during that week is when the moving truck came. And so by the time I came back from summer camp, we were in a new house in Port Orchard. And I had a room all unpacked and everything. So, yeah, it's weird knowing people for that long. The only other person I probably know for that long that I'm still closer with is Lindsay.
Yeah.
Tammy has some people, that she's close with, over the years.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I feel like even people that I grew up with, I mean, I don't talk to any. I mean, you just don't.
Yeah.
You just get married and then you just have kids and then you don't make new friends. Your life's over. I mean, Chanel and I went to school together, but we weren't even. I mean, we weren't friends in high school.
Yeah.
And so. But, I mean, so yeah, probably from high school, my wife is the one I talk to the most.
Are you girls going to do sports or anything? Because I was going to say that is the thing I missed because when Landon was younger, we actually had some of the same parents on the baseball team or some of the same parents in soccer. And so we were making friends during that time. And, of course, we moved at the end, sort of when COVID hit and everything was shutting down anyways. So we lost a couple friendships that we had made over the previous couple years. But I really like that about sports because, it did kind of develop into real relationships.
Yeah, we do have some people that I guess you would say they're friends because of our kids. So yeah, like Kate, our oldest, he's playing golf at the high school. He's 17, but that's kind of once they get that old, you're just you're not really meeting their friends' parents. It's a little different.
And golf's not a super.
And golf, you don't really go and walk with them. But our two youngest, they're playing soccer, basketball, and then our youngest Carly, she wants to dance. She's not into sports. She wants to do dance, like hip hop dance. So we'll probably get her signed up for something like that.
Yeah, because I didn't pick up the kids, the boys, a lot from school or whatever. Tammy's not working, and I am. So obviously she's the one picking them up and dropping them off and everything. But one day, a couple months ago, I show up to pick up the boys with her. And some of the other moms come up, and there was just hey, girly. And they're like hugging each other and they're like slapping each other's butts and they're like talking about whatever, they talked about the day before or whatever. Like, oh my gosh, that show.
With Tammy? Or
yes,
no?
with Tammy.
You're like, you have friends? You didn't even tell me.
I was just like, yeah, it's just like, yeah. So they're all like close and yeah, so that's sort of like developing. That's been hard. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like been hard to try to make new friends in Gig Harbor. We have a couple, but
that's easier for moms because I will pick up my kids sometimes from the bus stop, and there's another dad there, and we have not said a word to each other. Like one time, he came down to the bus stop, and I was wearing a Kraken hat, and he was wearing a Kraken hoodie.
the Kraken, huh?
And I think we just looked at each other, and both were like, "Well, we should probably acknowledge this." And he just said, "Go Kraken." That was it.
Kraken.
And I feel like I should be more talkative, but like I try to read the vibe of the other person. Like I will talk to people, but if I catch that they don't want to, I don't want to because I don't want to make someone feel like they got to talk to me. So he didn't feel like he was the guy that wanted to chat, but the moms do.
Yeah,
The moms will chat. Yeah, so that's different. But it is a good way to make friends. Your kids' friends. It goes both ways. Like you have friends and they have kids, and so you just have to kind of assume like they're going to have to be friends because I'm friends with their parents. And I think we just assume our kids will figure it out. But then when it's the other way around, and it's like you're meeting your friends, your kids' friends' parents. There's like. Chanel works a lot on Saturdays, so like if Kennedy or Carly have a birthday party to go to, I'm the one that usually takes them.
Oh, yeah.
And I took Kennedy to a birthday party in Tacoma at one of the jump places.
The Defy? Or
I don't know if it was not Defy, it was another one. But, and it's 2 hours. And I would say 4 minutes into it, and that's about 10 minutes before it started. So 4 minutes into 10 minutes before we start, I knew this crowd of parents is not going to work for me. There was so much gun, let's go Brandon type comments in the lobby of this place.
Yeah.
That it was just like, and a lot of like, oh, and I was just like, and I have zero investment to even like argue it.
Right.
So,
yeah, exactly.
And so I'm just like, but I don't, and I don't have anything to add to it. So it's just like, and I think they can pick up on that.
Well, that's the hard thing. It's like, you don't want to make it awkward by being like, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
and it's
I'm
like,
not trying to win anybody over.
Yeah. And it's like very clearly on your face, like, no, or whatever, because you just don't want to like,
Yeah, so that I think I have a better understanding of like when we go hang out with friends to not just make the assumption that our kids are going to want to play with their kids, or we should make them, because the other way around, I like at that birthday party, I went like 40 minutes into it. I went out to my car and got my backpack and just got my laptop and did work. Because I was like, I'm not going to sit there and just listen. So if my kids don't want to play with my friends' kids, I won't make them.
I know. It's kind of a bummer because I find a lot of the times it feels like, I don't know, I talk to Tammy about this a lot because it just seems like one of the biggest barriers to hanging out with people is people make it seem like it's such a big deal to get their kids out of the house or be somewhere else that's not their home for even a dinner, even if it was just like an hour, were Will and I just talking or, whatever, but it's just like trying to plan like a dinner with somebody and it's like, oh yeah, 3 months from now. And it's like, I would like to be friends more than, 3 times a year. But it just seems like, I always talk about, it's a little bit too much, but, I always talk about Cambodia a lot because, but only because there's so many cultural differences. Well, one is just more people live on top of each other. Yeah? Oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to do Wordle tonight. You can do it with Mama. No, it's fine. It's happened a million times. Tammy's still apologizing.
Yeah. Well, the Wordle for today is spank. And that is what's going to happen to him.
Yeah, we still have Wordle going. Well, he likes to play with me because we pair off.
Yeah.
And we try to, we don't race because Tammy and Landon obviously win all the time. But
I love the people that are still sharing the Wordle. Like, the game is fun, and I love that it's still going, but the rage of sharing it on social media.
No.
Yeah.
But anyway, one of the things I think about a lot is, like, the times I've been in Cambodia, it's a lot of the neighbors who don't have anything to do with any of the organizations that we're there with or whatever. It's like everybody is like having dinner out in sort of like a common area, and the kids are just running around and playing with each other, and everybody's sort of like just seeing each other outside and milling around. And it's like you don't necessarily have to put something on the calendar, and you don't have to, it's like I'm getting, a little fix just from just being social, and I don't have to like plan something to be like, okay, we need to put something on the calendar because it can't be 30 minutes because that's too short. It needs to feel like it's a thing. But then you can't do 4 hours, every night of the week. So that's why you have to pick something 3 months, So it's just a weird.
Yeah, I think the hard part too is like, or at least for me,
about to move into like a high-rise apartment building, just to meet some people in the lobby, see some people in the elevator.
You just stand in the hallway with your keys in the door, but you're not really entering. You're just waiting, and you're like, oh, hey. I think the hard part for me is the transition from being single, or even, when Chanel and I got married, we just instantly had kids. But I think the idea of like when you're single and you're younger and you go hang out with your friends, there is no real time constraint most of the time. So you're just like, yeah, let's get together at 6, and then all of a sudden it's 12:30, and it's just like that's fine.
Right.
And then I think trying to figure out how do you transition out of that to like I'm gonna go. And I think you and I do this all the time. If we go out to dinner or whatever, it's like, when have we ever hung out 6 to 8? You know what I mean? It just doesn't. It doesn't happen. And so I think for me, I'm like, I want to go hang out with someone. When can I stay up till midnight? And that's what I think is hard for me. It's like, how do you have adult relationships where you're like, well, we got to leave at 8:30. Yeah, I can't do it. Maybe.
Yeah. You have a lot of kids too. So
and that makes it hard.
I sort of get that where it's like 2 kids versus 4 or 5 kids or whatever. It's also a big difference. Yeah.
My ears are getting sweaty.
Yeah, you got the full over the ears instead of earbuds. Surprised me, but
well, I have one pair of earbuds, and they are for the iPhone. I don't have the little dongle attachment.
Oh, you got the new new Lightning.
Yeah, the only time I ever use them is for my phone.
Oh yeah.
And so I had to make a quick trip to my office to find these.
You could have gone without them. Will does.
I know, but remember we were just talking about how bad he is at this.
2.5 years in, he still doesn't like the sound of his voice.
Yeah, this is...
Maybe 2 years. No?
It's been a while.
Wait. 3 years?
It was in COVID.
Well, it's going to be 3 years because this is 100 and is like 144 or something like that.
Oh my gosh. It's taken this long for me to get an invite on this pod. I remember like an episode, I don't know, one of the deleted episodes because you guys wiped some of the early ones, which are the best, by the way.
No, they're the worst.
I remember it was like episode 10. I was like, I'll probably get a phone call here pretty soon. And I was like, we're in a pandemic. Nothing's going on. I'll probably get a text here pretty soon. Come hang out with us. And it's been so long that it's not even, you guys, none of you are in Port Orchard. This started as Port Orchard's finest podcast. And how many good mutual friends do you both have in Port Orchard that could have been a guest?
That's what we're talking about. I don't have any friends.
At the time. Well, and I know I told you this before, like, sometimes, like, even, like, we were texting the other day about...
Get Virgil on the pod.
Oh, gosh. He texted me the other day. But, when I was texting you the other day about we got to go out to Spiro's. And I've told you this before about the podcast, is sometimes I forget that you guys don't hang out with me.
Yeah.
Because when I listen to the podcast, because I know both of you, and it's just like, it feels kind of like we're all together.
Yeah.
But I don't have a podcast. I don't have like a reaction podcast, which I could start. I could start that.
Yeah.
Does he want me to go say goodnight to them? Is that?
Yeah, probably. No. Yeah, I'll say goodnight.
And pause.
Yeah, reaction pod just for our podcast. That'd be good.
Yeah, and I'll just send it to you guys. So you're like, oh, that's what Matt was thinking when Will talked about liking it deep. He made a shrug face.
Yeah, actually, right when I was going to talk to Will about the possibility of doing video is when I found out. Actually, I was going to talk to him about it at Christmas, and Christmas is when he talked about having the baby. So then I was like, oh gosh, not that we needed to wait, but it was just like there's so many logistics I didn't know. That would be the thing I'd like to do, but there's a bunch of logistical.
I mean, you like having it in your garage, or just like...
Yeah, you could just do the lights.
It's a lot of editing.
Well,
you do 2 cameras or just 1?
Well, I figured I'd just do 1. Well, I think Will and I will probably, because of his train schedule and now with baby...
Oh, just like a Zoom?
We might have to Zoom and have him capture stuff on his side and then me capture stuff on my side and put it together. So there's just some logistical stuff we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about much.
Well, I feel like we've covered a lot. Planners. The troubles of finding friends as adults.
Yeah, that's a normal theme. Let's see.
But a part of me also likes to talk about how hard it is to find friends as an adult. But then there's another part of me that's just like, even if I feel like if it was easy, I don't know if I would do it. Like,
Well, that's the other thing I was thinking, like, when you said that guy was at the...
Yeah. But that's a little bit more judging of, like, I know he doesn't want to talk to me. I probably wouldn't be his friend. And the thing we had in common was hockey. So, like, I'm carrying that conversation for 40 seconds.
Yeah.
And then I'm done with all my knowledge of hockey.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, if he had, like, a, like, free Beth Moore shirt on or something like that, that would be like, oh, I bet we could have a conversation.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Nate texted me after the episode where I said, I said I visited a shop, and he said, am I just going to talk about hell in Hebrews or whatever? He's like, you can talk to me about that anytime. Yeah, it's funny. But that's what I was thinking about. Like, that's also what I think about, being with another group of parents or a group of friends and being that person who'd be like, okay, or even, you, it's like, I got a good youth pastor story for everybody. It's like, oh, you were watching The Voice this week? Let me tell you about the sermon that I wrote for, or whatever.
Yeah. I guess that's, depending on the crowd, I guess that's the nice thing about, like, having two jobs, so it doesn't have to always lead out with the pastor stuff. Depending on the crowd, you just never know.
Yeah.
And then also when you...
Do you get crowds following you around a lot?
Well, yeah. It's an issue. On my way here...
You're just so well known in Port Orchard.
Well, even on my way here, I was at a stop sign and I could see... I was like, I got to roll my window up because I saw... Like, I was trying to figure out where you lived still. And I was at the stop sign for too long.
Yeah, Matt came here by memory. He's proud of himself.
Well...
it is actually an accomplishment. I'm not even...
Because, I don't know, when did I come here last? It was last summer. We came here after we were in Bellingham.
Yeah, when was that?
So that was like June, right?
August? I don't know.
But we went to Bellingham. We had to come back and just stop here for you to switch cars and pick up your family because you were going somewhere. So we drove here to your house.
After we had Red Robin.
Told the lady you just got out of jail. And, but we came here and we were talking, so I'm not paying attention to where you're going. I'm not driving. And we showed up at your house. We switched cars and we left. And here we are 10 months later. I am on the freeway here and go, I don't know where Michael lives.
And it was getting later. I was like, and Matt never texted me for his address. So I was like, it's either in there from before or he's just winging it.
And I was winging it. And then when I went the wrong way, and then I was embarrassed.
Where did you...
Well, what happened was, I can't remember if there was a conversation about the pancake place that we had that's kind of over by your house. We had driven by it, and you were telling me, I think, Landon or Declan liked going there or something. And I was like, I think I remember Michael telling me about it, so he must have drove by it. So, when I came across the freeway and I should have turned right, I didn't. I went straight through that light. And then I kind of started to make back ways, and I ended up in some parking lot that I couldn't get out of, so I had to go all the way back through. But I found my way.
I like to wing it though.
I was like, I know they're at the end of a road.
You just make a story for yourself. That's why I like to wing it sometimes.
Yeah,
because I know if
it took me an hour and a half to get here, so I was winging it for a while. I had to go get gas. I had to go back to the freeway.
Yeah. Okay. Good question. How much time did getting lost add? Only like 5 minutes?
Maybe 5 minutes. I was in the area. If you could have climbed a tree and you would have seen me like, God, he's so close. He's so close, but he's not gonna be able to get here from there. He's gonna have to turn around.
That's so funny that you did that.
It was a challenge.
Maybe you just don't like to talk to people.
It would have been embarrassing if I said, I've been in Gig Harbor for 20 minutes. Where do you live? So I didn't have to do that. It was good, though.
Well, we should wrap this episode up. And maybe we should tell some entertaining... I was trying to think of some entertaining memories or something that we had.
Yeah, we never really... did an intro. I think we went somewhere from that. Well, I guess we just talked about...
I'll do an intro, but Matt's going to do 2 episodes, and I don't know if I'm going to, because I think it'd be funny to sandwich your sister I was going to do a podcast with her and talk about rehash some living together stories.
Like therapy? Is it a forgiveness podcast?
It might be. There's this. Okay, all right.
Can you do a Can you do a segment on that episode called "What Our Kids Ate for Breakfast Today"? And you guys would just give examples of the different things.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Your kids would eat for breakfast. Would they share the same table?
Well, breakfast is a whole thing. So no, but that's a great idea. And I'm just because actually breakfast is actually something that we laugh about too. So I'll put it in the notes when I'm editing this, and we'll for sure talk about it.
Yeah, because I remember some stories. What was there was like I think this is a story you told me about like cleaning your like cleaning the kitchen or something.
Yeah, that's the number one story. So
I just save it.
Yeah, she's sprayed my cup with like 409 or something, and I was just like, "Hey, can you at least like this one time that you're cleaning up? Can you?
Can you do it right?
Just kidding." I was like, "Can you just like at least like move my cup and don't spray it because I'm gonna like drink off it. I don't want to drink 409."
Yeah,
and it was like a whole thing. Okay, yeah. So either next week or 2 weeks, we'll follow up with some stories.
Bye.